Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I want to show you how you can split your large Jamstack sites into smaller sites, and let me also show you why that is important. Cool. So let me zoom in a little bit more. So imagine that you have a large site, and within that site you have a blog section, you have a shop section, and you have a documentation section, right? That is relatively large. So imagine that your site has about 2,000 different product pages. In your documentation site, you have about 500 different pages of content. And the same applies to your blog section. You have about 8,000 different blog posts. Now, when you make a change to this site, say for instance, you update your products, right? And of course, this is a Jamstack site, so you can be pulling in the data for your products from a content management system like Strapi or Sanity, Contentful, or you have a backend API service somewhere where you're getting your data for the products from. So now, if you get new stock and you want to update your product, when you send in a new product into your CMS, now what happens is your static site generator will regenerate the entire site. That means it will rebuild shop, it will rebuild docs, it will rebuild blog. And if you had other routes like your about page or contact page, all of the pages available in your site will get rebuilt and regenerated. And the disadvantage of that is that if you have like these thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of products in your application, then the build time relatively gets high, right? That means you just have to sit there and watch your build, and you'll be there for like 45 minutes, in some cases an hour, 2 hours, just for your site to build and generate all the pages that is needed for before you go live. And when that is finally done, the site is then deployed to a CDN and then served to your users. Right. Once again, the thing that you don't want to happen is to sit for like 1 hour waiting for your build to finish, right? Because I mean, you just first it costs you a lot more money, because if you're deploying to a static hosting, your build minutes kind of like translates to how much you pay for that hosting. And also it gets really annoying, right? I just can't imagine clicking a button to deploy a site and having to wait for 2 hours for that site to get deployed. So what I'm going to try to show you is how to lower your build times by splitting all those different parts of your site into individual and independent microsites that can function on their own. That's just one way of that's just one approach. Actually, there are other approaches that is very popular in the Jamstack ecosystem, like incremental builds, like incremental static regeneration, and there's DPR, which is relatively new, which is also another way to help solve the problems like this, right? That's distributed persistent rendering. That is a mouthful, so I always try not to say it so fast. Okay, so this is let's get back to the solution that I'm trying to show you, which is how to split this site that is a bulk of your homepage, your about page, your blog, your documentation, everything in one place. If you want to get lower build times by splitting them out, what relatively will happen is you have your shop as a different site of its own. The same applies to documentation, the same applies to blog, right? And you deploy them individually, right? Separately, independent of each other. So you can deploy your shop in a different URL where you call it myshop.com, or you do the same for docs and call it mydocs.com, or for the case of your blog, myblog.com, and all of that. So these are all three distinct sites that has no relation whatsoever, right? And to achieve the same experience you had in your old site, where somebody can easily go to, let me go to the old site. If somebody comes to your main site and go to /shop, they see all the products that you have and everything about your shop. The same applies to when they go to docs. Now, if you want to retain that experience, what you need to do is use redirects and proxies, which is available to you if you're hosting really anywhere. It's available anywhere, right? So if you want to retain that experience, what you can do is when someone comes to your main site and clicks on shop, your URL will still read mainsite.com/shop, but the content for that route will be proxied from your myshop.com microsite. So that way the URL is not changing. You're not like leaving your main site and going to myshop.com. You're still in your main site, sorry. your main site. You're still in your main site /shop, but the content you're displaying is being proxied from the myshop.com site. Now, the advantage of doing that is that when you now make a new update to maybe your product or your docs or any update anywhere, only that site gets regenerated, right? So if for instance you made a change to your product catalog, you added a new product. Now the build process will kick in, and what happens is it will rebuild your product site, leaving your docs and your blog sites as it is. That is literally breaking down your build time to 1/3. Right. So if your site was building in 90 minutes before, now it's going to build in 30 minutes. That is still a lot of time. Okay. Forget that I say that. So if your site was building in 90 seconds, now it's going to build in 30 seconds. And that is a huge amount of money that you're going to save for yourself or for your company if you are able to bring down the build time to this amount of time. And the same experience happens. So you're not sacrificing the experience of staying within your main site. You're still within your main site, but now you're proxying content from a different site, which is being displayed to your users, and the experience and everything remains the same. So then it gets deployed and your users can start accessing them as soon as possible. That looks like a lot of theory. So let me go back and show you what this looks like in my code base. Now this is a site that I built specifically to explain this thing, hoping that it will make more sense if you're seeing it in real life, right? So I called it large site. It's not really large, but it gets the message across. So within it, I have, just like the Excalibur illustration I showed you before, I have the blog site, I have the docs, and I have the shop. Actually, let me just run this as well. So I have all of these sites available within the app. And if I deploy it, I'm deploying all the contents, all the pages, all the routes, that is, because all of these things have slugs, which means that they have dynamic routes that will be generated at build time. So if I had 1,000 blog posts, it will generate all of those blog posts with their slug when the site is building. The same applies to docs, the same applies to shop and all of them. So let me look at this. And so if I go to /shop, I get the contents of my shop. If I go to about, the same happens. If I go to docs, it generates all my documentation, which I can look at all the features and all the requirements of using my system and all of that. So basically, all of these things are available just within this site. So when I deploy this site, it's going to take like a minute or so, because I mean, of course, it just has a few slides. It's not so much. But imagine that each of these routes has like 1,000 pages each that will be generated. Then this will get relatively, it will take relatively longer to deploy the site. Now, what if the blog, the docs, and the shop section, I hit delete on all of this, and then build them individually as different sites of their own that will serve me the same content, that will give me the same visual experience as it did in the large site. That is exactly what I'm going to do. And let me get this one out of the way and just show you the one where I've done just that. This is it, right? So I called this one hedges. It is practically the same thing with the old site. The only difference is it doesn't have the shop and the blog and the documentation sections. So if I run this one, I hope that closing the other one has stopped that server from running. They did. Go away. Now, sorry, wait, which port is it running again? Yeah, right here. All right, so this is the main site. At the moment, the only route that is available is the about section, I think, right? So if I go to shop, it doesn't exist. And the same happens when I go to docs. And the same happens when I go to blog. It doesn't exist. So let's go ahead and create one of these, right? Maybe blog, maybe docs, maybe shop as an independent site of their own and deploy them. And then we can tie it back to this site. And to do that, let me go ahead and stop this from running. Let's do hyper. So I'm going to create like the documentation site that I had before in the large site as a standalone product, and then we can deploy it. So let's put this on the desktop, and let's do npx create Nox app. If I can see my keyboard, let's call it hedges/docs. Yeah, yes. Yes. Yeah, let's select Tailwind because that's what I used. And nothing. Right here. None. Hosting. Okay, that's correct. Good. And now this is going to go ahead and install all the dependencies that's needed to start up this project. And I can go to Edges Docs, and I can open it up in VS Code. Cool. What I need to check though is if I have. Okay, yeah, so I have Tailwind, so that is all set up for me. And let's stop the old one. Okay. Back here, what I want to have in my pages is, let's delete all of this. So I want to have a new folder, and I'm going to call it docs. And inside pages, I'm going to have a new file. It's going to be index. I don't know why I deleted the old one, but I want to have this one as well. And inside docs, I'm going to have two new files, and that is going to be index.view, and the next one is going to be underscore slug.view. Cool. So what I want to do is, let me go to tail block, which is a Tailwind utility site that just gives you pre-built components out of the box. That is really what I used to build the other hedges sites. So I'm just going to take any random content from here and put it there. I can take this one. Yes. So let's take this and put it in our homepage. Oh no, let me wrap it in a template. Save that. And then that's just to have something in the home page. So when you go there, it doesn't show you an empty page. And then in the docs, let me copy that as well. Actually, before I get that, maybe you'll be interested in learning how uh, Noxt Noxt.js's content module works. I'll link a video in the description. That's what I'm using to create the documentation for this site, right? It's going to make this video like really bloated if I start talking about Noxt content module. So I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to link a resource that really goes in detail and teaches you how it works. So that's what I'm using to create the documentation site here. I'm going to come here and paste this in, and you see how I'm using it here. So it's kind of like you're fetching data from somewhere, except that place is somewhere within your code base. And let's go ahead and create that actually. Let's create a new folder. Oh my God, what did I do? And call it content. And inside the content, then I can have all the blog posts that I want. Get this, and copy that. Yeah. So here, because you can have a lot of different types of content, you can have blog post content, you can have documentation content. It makes sense to spread out your content into the kind of things you want it to be. In my case, I want to have docs because that's the site I'm building. So now I can paste in the different types of the different documentation pages that I have. So I have a features.md, getting started, all of these things. This will all get very clear to you if you're not familiar with Noxt content module. I'll put a link in the description for you. So now that I have the content, I'll come back to my pages directory. Oh my God, no. What did I do? Oh no, no. This is in the wrong place. I'm going to cut this out entirely, and then I'm going to paste it outside the pages directory. Fantastic. Yeah. Sorry about that. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know I was in the pages directory and doing all of that. So back inside pages, inside inside the docs route, you'll see that I'm fetching the content from the content folder that I just created and added stuff. And of course, I'm fetching the docs content. So if you had other contents here, like you can create a new folder for blog, really anything else. And then inside here, I'm displaying those products. Did I say products? What is going on with me today? This is so hard. Anyway, forgive me for all of that. So I'm displaying the documentation page, and I'm dynamically displaying the contents directory. What? What? My God. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. So, what else should I do here? Yeah. So let's now set up the dynamic pages that will display the individual documentation pages that we have in our project. And to do that, let me bring this in as well. So this is basically just saying on this page, show the content, and this is how we're showing the content. This is called Noxt content. This is how you display the content. So you put it in and you pass it a prop, which is document that will point to the document you want to display on this page. And this is how we're dynamically getting that document, right? We're using the name, the slug of the document, which in this case is the name of the document. So features.md, installation, and the rest. So you use it to fetch the particular content from your documentation content, and then you display it in this page, thanks to Tailwind's classes that has been provided for us. So if I save this and save this, what else do I need to save? Is that all? think that's all. So let's go ahead and do yarn dev. Something is definitely going to go wrong, but hopefully we'll find out. We'll find out from the dev tools. Oh yes, I know what is going to go wrong. We don't have any components and we did not edit the layout. Yeah, I caught that just in time. So if you notice from our previous thing, from our previous site, we have this navbar and we have the footer as well, and that is supposed to be available across the site, right? That's how I maintain my site's identity. It has to be the same everywhere. So let me go ahead and copy that from the large site that we already had. And copy this. Let me bring it into this one and paste it here. Now in my layout folder, I'm going to edit it to show. I'm going to edit it to display the nav bar and the footer, and then my content inside of it as well. I really don't know why Nox.js puts all of these default files. So I'm going to. I deleted it again, and I have to type it. Default.view, and then I'll put this in, and I'm basically saying get the two components I created, display them here, and put all of the site's content between them. Cool. So if I save that, what else do I need to do? Hopefully that fixes it. So let me come back. Render function or template not defined in layouts.view. Really? I'm going to do this again. There you go. I knew it was defined. Cool. So if I go to /docs, content is not a function. Okay, so I think I probably did not add Nox content module. So let me go ahead and install that. How is it installed again? Nox content module. I can't remember the npm command for it, but I bet it's Nox content module probably. That's it. So let's go ahead and stop this and paste this. That should install it for us. Do I need to do anything else? Yes, I have to add it to my modules, and that will be all. Cool. Let me copy this and come back to nox.config.js. Find my modules array right here, and I'm just going to add Nox content. That should do it. Well, I guess we just have to wait for Nox content module to get installed. In the meantime, if you have any comments, please go ahead and put it in the section. If you're having fun, I like to have fun when I'm learning, and especially when I'm working. I found out that I spend 70% of my time doing work-related things. So if I'm working, if I'm learning, if I'm doing anything and I don't feel like I'm having fun, it just feels like I'm not living a happy life. So pardon me if I'm doing so much playful things, but that's just how I am, and I really like to be happy when I'm doing anything in life. Okay, now that's done. So let's go ahead and do yarn dev. This is saved, I hope. And when that finishes, if I go to the home page and go to /docs, now I should be able to get all the content. Wait, where's my content coming from? Hang on. Oh yeah, it's coming from here. I thought I may have been using a different CMS for that, but no, it's not content module, so it should be available. So if I go to /docs, I think this will take me there. There you go. Here's my content. And let's try clicking into it. Fantastic. Now, uh, what happens is we now have this docs as a separate standalone site of its own. So let's deploy it, right? Let's deploy it. I'm going to stop this and go to, and first I need to add it to GitHub. So hang on. I'm going to create a repository. This is just ordinarily if I'm working on my own and I'm just doing my thing, I'll do all of this on the command line. Netlify has a dev environment where you can do everything from the command line. GitHub has a GitHub CLI where you can also do all of those things in the command line. That is usually the way that I prefer, but I think that might not be everyone else's preference. So let me go ahead and do it the old way. Well, not the old way, but the regular way that everyone else does it. So I'm going to create a new repository and I'm going to call it Hedges Docs, maybe. What should I call it? I bet I already have this thing. No, yeah, Hedges Doc. Hedges Doc works. Problem, I don't mind. So I'm copying this, and now I can git init, git add everything, and git commit docs content, more like docs site. Now then paste in the origin, and I can git push. That should do it. Fantastic. So I'm going to go to my Netlify app and I'm going to create a new site from Git. And I'm going to call it Hedges. Yeah, it's this one. And cool, yarn build dist. Let's do, I set npm as my build command. So let's do npm run build. Yeah, prefer that one. So it's deploying site and what will happen then is let me just quickly show you Netlify directs that. Now how this works is there are two ways to redirect. You can either completely redirect from your existing site to a different site altogether. That will change the URL in the browser, right? It will go from hedges.com to myshop.com or something like that. But if you rewrite, we call it rewrites and proxies, basically. That's what we want to do. We want to maintain the path on the browser, which is my shop or my site.com forward slash docs, and then it will show me the docs without changing that URL. So it's kind of like just going to that route, but proxying content from a different route and then displaying it on the slash docs site. So this is what we want to do. We're going to create a netlify.toml file, and inside it, we are going to do this basically. Yes, just this. So this redirect rules, we'll talk about that in a bit, but let me see if the site has deployed. It failed. Oh my God. Why is that? Let me look at the build logs. This does not exist. Oh, I bet my build command is wrong. I think it was probably generate. Yes. Oh my God. Let's figure this out together. I think it's generate. Let's find out. I'm going to deploy it again. just to make sure that, okay, so npm run generate invokes nox generate. So that is correct. Let me get rid of these ones and leave redirects. Yeah, okay, so while that is deploying, something that I found that a lot of people confuse is redirects and rewrites or proxies. Basically, the difference is this status 200, right? If you specify a status code and set it to 200, it's a rewrite, right? It's going to proxy content from the site that you've provided and display it on the URL that you've set. If you don't provide a status rule, it's going to be 301 by default. That is what Netlify sets every redirect rule to, status 301 by default. And that is going to not rewrite, but it's going to redirect. So if you are in myshop.com and you specify the to rule to api.mysearch.com, what it's going to do is if you click on that button or if that redirect rule executes, it's going to take you away completely from mysite.com. It's going to rewrite the URL in your browser and set it to this new one, because that's where you're going. You're literally leaving your site and going to a different site. But if you want to stay in your site and show the content from that other site, you just set a status 200 and that will become a rewrite, no longer a redirect. So our site is deployed, and let me just go ahead and rename it to something nice. Where is site settings? Here you go. Change site name, call it Hedges Doc. That work? Yeah, that worked. Yeah, that's what I wanted. So if you click on it, then you see that if I go to /docs, I get my documentation. And if I go to /features, I get the individual documentation that I want. That's all good. What I want to do now is tie this site back to my Hedges site, which is the one we had here. Let me run this one again. It's called Yandev. So if I go to /300, this is my hedges.com site. So what I'm planning is that when you come here and you click on docs, it's going to get the content from here. It's going to get this content and display it for you. And to do that, let's go back here. I'm going to stop the site and I'm going to create a new file and call it netlify.toml. And to specify a redirect rule, you just go on with this syntax and say redirects. Then say from, and this is going to be the URL you're redirecting from, which at the moment is localhost, I think. $3,000. What am I doing? Localhost 3,000. And where you want it to redirect to, and that will be this site that we have here. You want it to come here, and we want to set false to true so that no other logic, no other existing redirect logic will prevent this redirect from happening. So that's why you force it. But it's just to ensure that no matter what happens, this redirect will execute. And then we have to set the status to 200, right? And save that. Now, ideally, what we need to do is push this push this code to actually, let's go ahead and do that. Since I already have the site available on Netlify as hedges, if I, what am I doing? Let me push this. To Git status and find out what changed and add netlify.toml. Actually, let me just do everything. Added redirect rule. And let's push this. So I already have the site available on my Netlify app. I just built it locally, but if you, where's my Netlify site? Yeah, so if you come to my sites, you'll see that I have a hedges site here, and it's building. It's basically the same site that I have, which is this site. I just added this redirect rule. So what happens is if I go to that site now and click on /docs, oh no, I made a mistake. Because I have it available online already, it shouldn't be from localhost. I thought I was testing from locally on the Netlify dev environment, which you can do with, let me clear this. If you wanted to test this locally, you would ordinarily just run Netlify dev, but I didn't cover Netlify dev or how to install it or how to use it. That's why I don't want to run it locally. I just want to push it to GitHub and run it from online. So maybe in subsequent videos, I'll explain how Netlify dev works, and then I can use it in the command line here to do all of that testing. But in the meantime, let's update this. So I'm saying this site. If I go to this site and I go to like the docs section, I want you to stay on this site, but then the content I want you to show should be coming from this site, basically, right? So, but then you can still take this all the way back to just saying docs, right? So if I'm on this site, remember that the home site is this one, right? That's where the app is deployed. That's this one. Now, if somebody visits this site and goes to this site /docs, what you want to happen is I want you to proxy the content from this other site. Cool. Right. So let's delete this and say this and go to this one /docs. So that's what it should be. So I'm going to do all of the things I did before. Git add, commit the same thing, and push the same thing. The site is probably going to rebuild. Yeah, it's rebuilding. So fingers crossed. I hope that works. And if it does, hooray. If not, we'll figure it out. It's just going to take a while, but we'll find it. No, it wouldn't even take a while. The build logs is usually very explanatory. It kind of like helps you know exactly what went wrong and where it went wrong and what to do to fix it. So the site is deployed, and I'll go to that site now. And now, if I click on docs here, instead of showing me that the page does not exist, it should redirect me to this one. It should proxy the content from this one. It's not. It's all this redirect functionality is brought together under one umbrella called redirect, right? But then inside redirect, we have redirects, which is basically saying take me from here to here. We have rewrites and proxies, which basically says when I click on this link, show me content from this other link, which is what we are doing. So If you notice, I've probably explained this in like 3 times now because it's a question we get a lot here at Netlify. So I'm trying to make sure that the confusion is not I clear the confusion in this video as well. So here is my hedges. So if I click on docs, you see it worked. Yay! So the thing is, the URL remained the same, right? It's still hedges Netlify app/docs, but the content is coming from a different site altogether, and this is the site that is supplying us the content. If that makes sense, so let me go ahead and update the Netlify. Let me go ahead and update the Hedges app that we have locally here. I'll update this TOML file to now point to other parts of our to the other remaining 2 microsites, right? Remember, we are talking about shop, docs, and blog. At the moment, we've only built one microsite, and that is the documentation one. The process is the same for the rest of them. So I've already kind of like built the other 2 and deployed them. It's just the same way we did docs. We can go ahead and npx create Nox app and call it Hedges blog and Hedges shop. And that way we have the other 2 microsites. But this video is going to get incredibly long if I try to build 3 different microsites in one tutorial. So that's why I built the docs one. And let me go ahead and show you that I have the other 2 available in my Netlify site. So if you see here, we have, this is the one I just built and deployed. This is the existing large site that had everything in one place, right? And then we have the Hedges blog, which is the microsite blog site that is just available on its own, right? If you click it, you see the blog post, and if you click on it, you read each of the blogs and all of that. So what I'm going to do is come back here to my Hedges app and stop it from running so that I can add 2 more redirect rules. And this is going to say if I, okay, before I do this, let me show you something that is really interesting. I think I'm just going to close all of this to minimize confusion. I'm going to go back and go to Hedges doc. Now, this is the docs site that we just created. Everything is working as expected. If I go to /docs, I see the documentation page. If I click any of the links, I read the docs, right? But there's a problem that you might have not noticed. If I come back to my Hedges app, which is the main site, that's, if I click on it, it works. If I go to docs, it works. But if I try to read any of the documentations, then it doesn't work. And the reason is, if you look at the redirect rule we have locally, let me remove this last one, you see that we are only telling Netlify to redirect from docs page to this page. We're not really saying anything else. So that is where the wildcard functionality comes in. So if I put slash and star here, then I'm telling Netlify to not just redirect to docs, but keep an eye on any subsequent route changes from this domain. And to do that, we'll come here and add splat. So I'm going to actually, let me do all of this at once so that I don't have to come back to this page again. We can all work from the other. So when I go to blog, do the same thing for me. Go to Hedges blog, no longer dogs. When I go to shop, proxy the content from Hedges shop. These are all sites that I already have that already exist on Netlify. Oh, and I'm seeing this should be shop and this should be blog. Well, I just hope that I'm getting there. the URLs because I'm typing from my head now, and that can be dangerous. So I'll save this and add all and commit added rules for other redirects. And then I can push this. While that is pushing, let me just go ahead and ensure that these URLs are correct. So I'll check my site and see that I have Hedges blog, and that is hedges/blog.netlify. This is hedges/blog.netlify. Okay, that's correct. And I have shop. I have a Hedges shop somewhere. Do I? I don't. Oh my god. Oh, I called it Hedges product. Oh, okay. So I have to update that one. So instead of shop, I'm going to change it to products. And where did I do that? So yeah, Hedges products. Yeah, so that should fix it. Let me be sure. Let me visit this and go to shop, and it works. And it works. Yeah, so I should redirect to this place. And that will be like this. Cool. Yeah, that should work. Let me. Okay, before I push this, actually, let me do it now. Yeah, we'll just push the file that changed. Toml and it committed. Head row, then push this. So while that one is happening, I'm sure that our Hedges product currently has the updated rules for blog and docs. So if I go to docs again, it shows me my docs. If I click on any of those, yay, it works. Now I no longer get a 404, and that is because of this parts that I added and this other splat that I added. So it means that subsequent changes in the URL from this part should be, this is kind of like a placeholder that will hold the relevant slugs according to our application's slug. So everything is going to dynamically change depending on the site you click. So if I go back and click on getting started, now it has changed to doc/getting started, and that is all because of the splats that we added here. Let's check out blog and see if blog works. Blog, and if I try to read one of those, and it works. Great. So let me look at shop. Shop is still building. Okay, so while that is happening, let me get rid of some of these other links. While this is going on, I'd like to tell you that this is not just a different approach that is being invented, right? This is currently in production and being used by Citrix. Citrix, let me show you Citrix documentation. Now, this docs.citrix.com is hosted on Netlify. And at the moment, they have about 120 different microsites, right? And that means that instead of just shops and blogs and dogs, they have a lot more, like 120 other different smaller sites that are hosted on Netlify that are independent of each other. So when Citrix want to update some part of this documentation, their build times is probably just going to be like really small in seconds or at maximum in minutes, because all these other parts of the application is just separate and doesn't have to rebuild every time. Doesn't have to rebuild all of the site when a small part of the documentation changes. There's like two or three more other companies that I know that their sites are hosted on Netlify and taking all the advantage of microsites, because apart from smaller build times and saving you cost and everything, you also get the benefit of independent reviews, right? Say for instance, if you push a commit and your site has to get redeployed and everything, you can independently review different parts of your application, right? Say for instance, you're working in a company that a different team manages the documentation, a different team manages the products, a different team manages the blog. Now, when the marketing team, for instance, that is probably in charge of your blog section, or the DevX team that is probably in charge of the blog post that gets written and everything, if there are changes in those parts of your application, you don't want to pull in someone from marketing. Oh, there's been a change in this site, and they'll go and they see that the entire site has been regenerated, but the part that changed is the blog site. Now you don't want the marketing team to be reviewing what code changes in the blog section. That's not supposed to concern them. But if your site is like all together into one big app, they will have to get pulled in, because they also have contents that they manage on that site, and they want to be sure that nothing has changed, that the recent commit has not affected anything. So that's also part of the advantages you get from building your documentation this way. Not just your documentation, but for building your site this way. So this is basically how to split your large sites into smaller sites that will give you all the benefits of smaller build times, cost reduction, independent reviews, and so on and so forth. I think that is it. Before we call it today, let's test the shop section just to be sure that it works as expected. So if I go to shop, it works. And if I click on any of the products, then I get the product. So in this video, one, we have created a main site. Two, we've created 3 different microsites. 4, we have tied them all back to the main site and shown you how you can proxy content from the individual microsites back to your main site and not change the experience of your users. So thank you very much for tuning in. Let me know if you like this content, and please like and subscribe and share with anyone you feel that will be you feel that this video will be beneficial to. Oh my god. Anyone you feel that this video will be beneficial to. God, this is so hard. Thank you very much once again, and I hope you come back for the next video. Bye.